Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency, 504-556-0809 or davemietteINSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siding, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We are live from our Pontchartrain Production Studios overlooking beautiful New Orleans. Gotta love that skyline, that shot as well. And of course, don't forget we're also live streaming on the WLAE-TV YouTube page. Today on the program, from Fox 8 Sports, Garland Gillen joins us. We'll talk Saints, LSU, Tulane, Pelicans, try to fit it all in over the next hour. Garland, welcome back to the show. Good to have you. And before we get started, I always like to talk a little bit about what's going on at Fox 8. So many great programs that you guys have. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we still are, even in the off season, we do overtime on Thursday nights there at 10:35. Final play, we wrap it all up on Sunday at 10:30. But then when that season hits, man, it's 3.5 hours of programming a week from we review the whole the Saints game from the day before with Deuce McAllister, the game plan on Wednesday, get you ready for the next game. Friday nights is Fox 8 Football Friday, which is one of my favorite shows because I get to be at the game of the week. And then Sunday we do a big pregame show called Tailgate at 10 a.m. to get you ready for the Saints game and then wrap it all up on Final Play. So it's almost here. I was at 7-on-7 football yesterday.
How was that? Tell us a little bit about it.
So it was Newman, Jewett, and Shaw. Okay. But I was there for one kid only, okay? I was there to see Arch Manning spin it. And, Eric, people – this season and next season, you got to get out to Lupin Field or any game. You're going to see part of history, okay? If you can go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, we're talking possibly Cordell Stewart, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Ryan Paralleau. That's it. Right. In the last 50 years, quarterbacks that have been on the level where everybody in America wants a piece of them, they want to check them out. And Arch Manning is that guy. Everybody in America wants him, from Clemson to Alabama, Texas, LSU, Georgia, you name it, they want him on his team. Want him on the team. He went on a big tour of colleges this last month, so it's going to heat up. He's probably going to make a decision in the spring of 2022. He can sign next December, early signing period. So it's not over with yet. I think he's trying to get to Notre Dame. Might go to USC this fall, see some more campuses. But if you get a chance this fall, go to Lupin Field uptown and check him out. You won't regret it. You go on my Twitter page. There's a ton of highlights of Arch on there. He's a one-of-a-kind talent, great kid, and he's going to be something special. I have no doubt in my mind, I can say it right here on the show, that in the 2026 NFL Draft, he's going to be up there, okay? I'm not saying number one right now, but he's going to be in that conversation in the 2026 NFL Draft.
I don't think there's a reporter in this town that's been closer to what's going on at Newman with Arch Manning. any inclination of what he's leaning to one way or the other, or have they been really top secret with that?
They're just in the exploration process there. They've only Zoomed with a lot of these coaches. You know, they've done a ton of Zooms with Nick Saban, Steve Sarkisian at Texas. So to get to see them in person was a big deal. He's the only quarterback in the 2023 class that's been offered by Clemson. They only offer one quarterback at a time. Dabo Swinney offered it to Arch Manning there. Texas, Sarkisian is an offensive genius. You saw what he did with Mac Jones last year. No one even knew who Mac Jones was before last season.
Of course.
Sarkisian got him the number 15 pick in the NFL draft. He's now at Texas. It's been a long time since there have been a legendary quarterback at Texas. You got to go back to Colt McCoy, Vince Young. I will say this, at Alabama, you're just a cog in the machine, okay? They just roll through the Tuas of the world, the Mac Jones of the world, just keep going. So if Arch goes to Alabama, he'll probably win a national title, but it'll keep it going. Same thing with Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson there if he goes to Clemson. If Texas is that team, I mean, he might be starting something new. They like Jake Pizza at LSU, they OC, they love Georgia, they like the campus around it. So, no, it's all out there. Notre Dame's in the mix. I don't have an inkling right now because they're keeping it so wide open, which makes it exciting.
Yes, sure.
That there's 5 to 10 schools that have a shot at Arch Manning there, from the SEC to the Big 12 to the ACC, the Notre Dame, which is independent, and don't count out a West Coast team.
You want to talk about name, image, and likeness. When this kid hits a campus.
He's electric. I mean, he's on the Zooms every day with his coach there. He's reviewing film. He's spending weekends with his Uncle Peyton out in Colorado there doing working out with wide receivers. He is nonstop football. Works out twice a day, lifts in the morning, does other workouts in the afternoon, 7-on-7 with his teammates. I've never seen a kid like this in my life there. We covered his 7th grade city championship. We're the only ones out there, so we have been on the Arch Manning train from the start, and it's only going to heat up as time goes forward.
Let's start with LSU and, of course, the new baseball coach, Jay Johnson. First of all, your thoughts. Your thoughts about this hire.
I really like this hire. I know a lot of people are worried that he's not from the South. You know, he's a West Coast guy, but go look at LSU's roster. They got some studs from California. They got some studs from Florida. This kid decommitted. That was an Arizona commitment. That's from California that has now come in with Jay Johnson to Baton Rouge. There's what, I think 8 or 9 Arizona players in the transfer portal right now. So Jay Johnson gets some of those guys. If you're from Louisiana, you're probably going to LSU, okay?
Sure.
Gavin Dugas is from Homa, went to LSU. Trey Morgan at Brother Martin went to LSU. They're not going to miss on that Louisiana kid, okay? People are not coming from other states. This isn't football where a Nick Saban can come in or another coach come in. In baseball, they're going to LSU. So I think this is a national program, so I have no problem with Jay Johnson not being from the South there. That's a tired storyline. That's a bad storyline. I mean, Paul Maneri's not from the South, okay? It's Skip Bertman was not from the. I mean, he was from Florida.
As was Maneri.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you consider the South, but like,
but not the deep South, not Southeastern Conference country.
If you can win, you can win anywhere, okay? I'm not buying that. So no, I mean, his press conference looked smooth. He said it was his dream job. He said all the right things. So I'm on board with him there. A great run by LSU. I couldn't believe it. They made it that far to Super Regional.
Hitting is his prowess. He had some really good coaches with him at Arizona. Those guys have kind of sprung off to different other programs. So he's going to be looking for 2 top assistants, pitching coach obviously. And what he said in the press conference was he may concentrate on getting some guys from the Deep South that understand how to recruit here. But I'm with you. This is a national program. They recruit nationally. They're getting the best of the best. What you got to be able to do is to be able to deal with that MLB draft. Because again, you're ready to sign the top guys in the nation, and all of a sudden, their baby bonus money comes through, and next thing you know, again, you're out there looking and scrambling for another player. That's where I think the rubber hits the road. That's where Skip was really great. That's where Maneri was really good. That's where maybe Smoke wasn't so good. We'll see again how Jay Johnson's going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, the transfer portal's alive and well now.
Which is different than it's ever been, right?
Yeah, you can pull guys in there. Rick Jones, go look at his rosters from his 01 and 05 teams there. A lot of transfers there. kids from all over the country. So I don't want to hear that. No, he is a West Coast guy. Good. You know how many kids play baseball in California?
Right, come on.
He could just, I mean, as we just said at the top there, one of his kids that committed to Arizona and decommitted has now committed to LSU, okay? Right. The specter of LSU baseball, it goes far and wide there. I mean, Mississippi State just won it. Yes. Mississippi State in Stark Vegas. So anybody can win a national title. Vanderbilt has very strict academic guidelines there. They're in it. They won it in 2019, almost won it again this year. So, yeah, you can. If you're good, you can recruit.
Scott Woolward, a lot of LSU fans were expecting this huge splash hire, and a lot of that maybe comes from, again, his history of these big-time hires. Was the expectation hurt Johnson in some ways, because when you look at compare him to maybe some of the other coaches out there, he wasn't the first choice. How does this kind of look on Johnson and Woodward?
Well, I would say this. Mike Bianco was one of the other top guys, but if you talk to Ole Miss fans, they feel like that program is underachieved under Mike Bianco. Right. There's some teams that should have been in the College World Series that didn't make it. Cliff Godwin was a good coach, but Cliff Godwin never made it to the College World Series. How many times Jay Johnson made in the last 5 years? Twice?
Right.
That's much more impressive.
Twice in 6 years.
Yeah, twice 6 years. That's better than what Mike Bianco's done. It's better than what Cliff Godwin's done. So I know those were the big-time names there, but this guy won in Arizona.
Right.
I
know Sullivan in Florida, who was early, who was one of the guys early.
Yeah, his star.
Right.
I feel like his is going down there.
A lot of they were very, very cautious with anything that would have maybe tainted the process, when anything that happened off the field or in their private or in the
Pat Casey one was a little was a head scratcher.
But wasn't that a trial balloon? Did you feel like they were trying to see how?
I feel like Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball. Somebody leaked that to him to kind of feel what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, what did LSU expect? He went. Pat Casey went out on some tumultuous terms there at Oregon State. That was the one that kind of scratched my head. But O'Sullivan at Florida to be the preseason #1, to go 2 in barbecue in your own regional there. There were some off the field issues that if you on message boards you can figure out that there were some problems off the field there. So at the end, I think he did well. Obviously, you saw what we did with Kim Mulkey. Gave a monster contract, Jimbo Fisher, while he was at A&M. Chris Peterson while he was at Washington. That's a reason why, I know we'll talk about later, he goes big game fishing. Right. You know, if a coach like Ed Ogeron struggles, I think he has a way of getting in alumni's ears to put up the cash to bring these big-time coaches. And if there's down the line where they have to let Will Wade go or Ed Ogeron go, he's going to swing for the fences again and get some other guy that's going to be on a hefty contract.
By the way, speaking of Will Wade, who's done a great job in restocking this roster, and of course Darius Day is coming back. Dick Vitale this morning tweeting about that again. The end of July, beginning of August is when we're going to see a lot of these sanctions coming down. So far, he's been unscathed.
Dickie V
he's been on this for 2 years now, and nothing has happened.
It's so tiring, and it's amazing who he protects and who he doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of heat around Mike Krzyzewski with the Zion Williamson situation that has not gone away either. Never says anything negative about Krzyzewski in any of the press there. It's amazing who he protects and who he doesn't protect there with his tweets there. Dickie V is so tired. I think he's so past his prime there. I don't listen to his. To be very honest, I don't watch a lot of college basketball. If Dickie V's on there, I'll probably put it on mute and be on Twitter at the same time there. I can't. When I was a kid, Dickie V was the guy. When I was in the 80s and the 90s, when I was a kid, I was all over listening to Dickie V. I don't care for him that much anymore there. I'll probably mute it before I listen to him do a broadcast.
Travis Jewett looks like he's coming back, even though, again, Tulane has not announced anything, nor is he under contract at this point. But everything is pointing to him coming back as the head coach of Tulane baseball next year.
Yeah. They wanted him to take that wedge when he was flirting with the Washington State job a few years back in 2019. I'm sure the Troy Dannon wanted him to go. I think I'd heard from some people at Tulane that they were kind of pushing him out to get that gig. Underperformed. I mean, as you've seen.
Well, then how do you re-up him at that point? I mean, again, look, I know it's much more difficult. At least they say it's more.
They re-signed Ron Hunter, and what has he done?
Right.
He lives in the transfer portal. They've nothing but underwhelming records with Ron Hunter and Mike Dunleavy.
Right.
Troy Dannon,
has he underperformed as an AD?
heavily underperformed as the AD there. I mean, we heard he was a basketball guy, and his basketball hires have been horrendous.
Right.
Maybe the guys up top, the chancellor, they like him, so that's all that matters there. Hit on Willie Fritz. But let's be honest, Willie Fritz is a 500 coach, and you know what? I guess at Tulane that's going to be fine. You just keep going. I saw the spreads came out for week 1. They're 24-point underdogs against OU.
Right.
I mean, they put the game at 11 in the morning, so they're anticipating a blowout in this game, which you would expect with Spencer Rattler and OU. If you look at Tulane's schedule right now, sure, Willie Fritz is probably going to go 6-6 again this year. I feel like that's where Tulane is going to sit for years to come there. They're going to be a fine program, not a great one, but not a Bob Toledo bottom out, Chris Selfo bottom out, Curtis Johnson bottom out program. They'll just sit right in the middle. But that's all that Troy Danning can put his hat on right now because Lisa Stockton's been there forever.
Right.
Good coach. They haven't made the tournament in a long time though. But Ron Hunter and Travis Jewett, I mean, Tulane hadn't made the tournament since the David Pierce days, back-to-back years. That was what, 2015-16? This program has underperformed there. You see it in the crowds this year or in the past. There's not the same sizzle with the Tulane baseball program.
Be interesting to see again how long that lasts. Let's talk about LSU football again, as we're just about a little bit over a month away from September the 4th is when they kick it off against UCLA. Looks like it'll be a full stadium at the Rose Bowl as well. Everybody's worried about the quarterback situation, and not again on the field. They're worried about the individual who doesn't win the job transferring. Your thoughts?
I would say that, first off, Dare Rosenthal is out of the program this week. They're in the transfer portal. That is very concerning, okay? Now left tackle is going to be Cam Wire. And I listened to O on the radio the other day in Baton Rouge. The number 6 lineman's Garrett Dellinger, who hasn't had a lot of work at all. That is very concerning.
That line has underperformed, and of course, one of the reasons why we saw a change in coaching.
Yes. You're hoping that Brad Davis comes in, possibly changes it around there. The line's concerning. I just don't, now that they're going to go through the summer, I just don't think Miles Brennan would transfer at the last minute. Ogeron has said that it's neck and neck. He's got to say it's neck and neck.
He does.
But to be very honest, Max Johnson's going nowhere. Okay, his brother, who's the #1 tight end in America for the 2022 class, is already verbally committed to LSU. Max Johnson got the first snaps there after in spring drills there, went 2-0 to end the season. I think I've said on this show, I've said on Overtime numerous times there, Miles Brennan would have gone 3-0 as a starting quarterback if Bo Pelini's defense wasn't total trash. But it was, and they lost to Missouri, and they lost to Mississippi State, which is just inexcusable. I know Missouri, at Missouri, they had the ball inside the 5. They couldn't punch it in there. I think it goes on the O-line, too, not punching with the running back there. I think it'd just be too late for Miles Brennan to get into a new system if it's Max Johnson's starter. I've gone on record numerous times also in saying that I think both quarterbacks do play at UCLA. It would be not a smart move on Coach O's part, Jake Peetz's part, to not have both of them play in that first game at UCLA there. Right now today, I know I've been on the Miles Brennan train, but I've talked to some people inside the facility. If they were going to have first snap against UCLA, I've been told that Max Johnson's that guy now. That Max Johnson will get that start there. Because not only will you build Max Johnson into this year, you're going to have him next year or with his little brother there playing tight end. So I think they're trying to build to the future. And Max Johnson, I think, is just more that guy. Gives him, since he's better with his feet there, gives him more assets. But, like I said, both of them are going to play at UCLA in that opener, I think.
And look, it's hard to tell a kid now in one way or the other with, again, not having to sit out in a year and being able to go and be able to play immediately. If you get into that transfer portal, now with name, image, and likeness, it's going to be even more pressure on these kids to get on the field. They're not on the field. They're going to want to go somewhere where they can play, so they can start cashing in now on some of that money for their name, image, and likeness. But at the same time, you're one play away from getting into the game. I mean, again, you need depth at every position. And if guys start transferring simply because, they didn't win the job where they are, I mean, what happens to your quality depth across the board here? It's going to be interesting to see, again, how coaches are able to politic with players to hold on to them if they don't win starting jobs. And they are good enough to be able to maybe play somewhere else immediately and start.
Yeah, you spoke about name, image, and likeness.
Right.
Miles Brennan posted today on social media. He's now a spokesman for Smoothie King.
Right.
If he goes somewhere else, I don't know if that Smoothie King offer is going to go with him.
That's a great point.
Also, if it is Miles Brennan, you're getting to the end of the line here. At least with TJ Finley, he has a whole summer in Brian Harson's, Mike Bobo's offense at Auburn. He has a shot to unseat Bo Nix. I don't think Bo Nix is a really good quarterback. He regressed in his second year at Auburn. And Brian Harsin, the head coach at Auburn, didn't recruit him. He's a newcomer to the coaching job there, so he has no allegiance to Bo Nix. But right now, if it came to be like week 2 of training camp, if Miles Brennan was going to leave there, it had to be like a group of 5 school. And I don't know how many of those openings are left right now. I just see Miles Brennan and Max Johnson being on that roster when they go to Pasadena and when they go to the Rose Bowl there. But you're right, one play away. And then after this year, I mean, Miles Brennan will be gone anyway. And then you'll be with Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier and then Walker Howard, who's right now in California doing Elite 11. He is one of the best quarterbacks in America for the 2022 class. He's going into senior year at St. Thomas More. He's a 5-star quarterback. So LSU, after this season, will have Max Johnson. They'll have Garrett Nussmeier, who they love. He's got a cannon for an arm. And then they have Walker Howard. 2023, they're obviously in the Arch Manning sweepstakes with every other school in America. So they can kind of build from there. But Walker Howard is the real deal, and he's going to be on LSU's campus in 2022.
You mentioned the defense. It was atrocious last year. What can we expect this season?
They love Durante Jones.
Right.
I've heard nothing but good things about his recruiting and everything.
Right. But I mean, what else are we going to hear?
Yeah. I want the day to come that, like, listen, man, this is just a bad hire. You know, but no, they would never do that. They do have a lot of depth on the defensive line.
True.
They have the number 1 cornerback duo in America. Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley Jr. are number 1 and 3, I think, by Pro Football Focus on their rankings. The problem is at safety. I know you got Jay Ward on one side. They're going to try to figure out on the other. You know, they got some things they need to work out.
Brian Jones from Clemson to play linebacker.
Yeah, Mike Jones Jr. from Clemson. They got Bug Strong, who was like one of the top JUCO linebackers in America. I mean, the other linebacker that we got a lot of hype, it's going to come to my head in a second there. He was one of the number 7s, so it'll come to me in a second, 18s. But yeah, they have Damone Clark. Damone Clark came in with a ton of hype and just had a horrible season this year. So they got some issues at linebacker. They got some issues on the back end at safety. But they have a ton of depth on the defensive line. I can't wait to see. Mason Smith's going to play right away. Done numerous stories on the kid. He was, according to Rivals, the number 1 recruit in America for the class of 2020 there. He went to Terrebonne High School down in Houma. He's going to play this year. That's the one spot. So if you can get Ali Gay and those guys getting a push inside, that'll help.
Well, we mentioned it earlier about the offensive line. Again, you look at the wide receiver position, there's a lot of talent there. Running back, you can, again, even though there's going to maybe be some changes there with maybe some young guys getting some playing time, you've got some talent there. The big question mark for this team is really the offensive line right now.
Yeah, it is worrisome. And when you lose Adair Rosenthal right before, we're about a month from training camp, that's a problem. The other thing is that we have Keyshawn Booty, who's number 1. I don't know who their number 2 guy is right now. Like, is it going to be Corey Moore? Used to play at Rummel, okay? Is Corey Kiner going to step up? Mr. Ohio. Ty Davis Price had a lot of publicity coming out of high school, out of Southern Lab there. He's had his ups and downs. Same with John Emery Jr. out of Destrehan. We've been waiting for his star to explode. That it hasn't happened yet. So there's some guys that we're waiting on. I don't know who the number 2 guy is right now. Like they might have to. They're going to double Keyshawn Booty this fall, and that's where Coy Moore gets a chance. He lined up a running back in the spring game, so maybe they do some Christian McCaffrey stuff with Coy Moore since Shake Peets came from Carolina. So that's intriguing there. But right now they don't have that number 2 guy because Keyshawn Booty is the number 1. The tight end group doesn't have a lot of depth, so there's some issues there at that position.
Before we wrap up the first block and we head to the professional ranks. High school football, the talent in high school football in this upcoming season, who do you think are the top teams?
Well, John Curtis always, okay?
Right.
The Catholic League, is kind of throw them all up in the air there, but I would say they got a quarterback loose coming back in Buddy Taylor. I did a feature story on him a week or so ago. I think he's really good. But other than that, in the Catholic League, it's kind of a toss-up who's going to be number 2. Rummel's got a lot of depth they have to replace there. They got a new quarterback. Kyle Wickersham just graduated. He's going to University of Richmond.
Right.
Newman is number 1 state title in football. If they're going to ever do it, it's got to be this year. They got 2 LSU verbal commits and Bo Bortle on the left tackle. They got A.J. Johnson, wide receiver. Arch Manning's tight end, Will Randall, has an LSU offer. He's going to be a junior. Mekhi Donaldson has a big Power 5 offers. He's another receiver. They got 5 guys on one side of the ball that are studs. So,
I don't think I've ever heard that many commitments from Newman to LSU in my life.
No. We went back and looked it all up. They've only had 2 kids from Newman ever go to LSU. It was Vincent and then obviously Odell Beckham Jr. there. So that crew's stacked. And then my Cavaliers, okay? They've been in the state title game 3 of the last 4 years. They got Graham Jarrett, who's a De La Salle alum, who's now the head coach. He comes from Rummel. They had the entire offensive line coming back. And get this, if you go just type in the name Caden Jones, it's C-A-D-E-N Jones. He's a 6'8", 275-pound left tackle at De La Salle. He grew 3 inches this spring. He plays center on the basketball team. I did a story on him about a month and a half ago. It got all the way to Mickey Joseph, the story. Mickey Joseph got on the phone with Graham Jarrett, the head coach, and said, we need to get him up here for camp. Went up to camp at LSU, blew it up. He got an LSU offer now. So the line is stacked there. Cole Milford will be coming back for his 3rd year as a starter for De La Salle. I think De La Salle's right back in the state title game for the 4th time in 5 years. Their biggest competition will be St. Thomas More, has beaten them 2 years in a row, but they lost a ton of talent. They still got Walker Howard, U-High out of Baton Rouge. So, and then let's not forget Edna Carr.
Yeah.
They're the 4-time state champions before they got knocked out last year in the state title game against Karen Krell. They're going to reload. A.J. Samuels, their starting quarterback there. He'll be back. Aaron Anderson, who's an LSU commit, will be a senior this fall. Ty G. Hill in the defensive line there is also an LSU commit. So I put Carr in there. Warren Easton's always got some dogs. They'll be really good this fall. So we got some good teams, but the cream of the crop, I would say, is going to be your Carr, your Warren Easton, your De La Salle, your John Curtis, and your Newman.
Garland Gillen is with us from Fox 8 Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll take a break, hear from our underwriters. When we come back, we'll talk Saints and Pelicans. Stick around.
Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Experiencing rough weather with a bad roof can be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be.
Suburban Roofing, because when it comes to roofing, there is a difference.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Our guest today is Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. Garland, let's go to the Saints. We've been waiting on this we've been waiting on this a long time. I mean, again, I said it yesterday on the radio. And again, look, it's a happy day, but then you start going, well, man, you get this deal done 3 months ago, 2 months ago, at season's end, middle of the season. You're probably holding on to most of the core of your team. You're not letting Janoris Jenkins out the door. You're probably not letting Malcolm Brown or Sheldon Rankins out the door. You're probably not. You're in a situation where Quan Alexander was already injured. But again, you would have kept some of those, maybe those core veterans, especially the defensive side, that you had to let go. But nevertheless, Ryan Ramshack has signed the richest deal in NFL history for a right tackle. 5 years, $96 million. It's an average of $19.2 million a year. $60 million in injury guarantees, $43 million fully guaranteed. Now, there's no word on the signing bonus right now, but again, because he is going to play now, that he was playing on that fifth-year option, which is $11 million. His cap number now drops to $5.5 million. They're not sure again on the signing bonus, but look, that makes him the highest-paid right tackle in football. The thing that surprised me about this is, I thought he was going to be the highest-paid tackle in football. Okay, I really do. I didn't think they were going to designate him as the highest-paid right tackle because, again, Trent Williams, 33 years old, signed with the 49ers last year, richest deals for a left tackle, 6 years, $138 million, 45 guaranteed, $23.2 million a year. In contrast, that in 2016, as far as left tackle goes, Teron Armstead signed a 5-year, $65 million extension, $38 million guaranteed, $11 million signing bonus. Now, again, remember, he is an unrestricted free agent next year because of the voidable year on his contract. There's $13.65 million in dead money that's going to be on the books if he moves on elsewhere. The only thing that really shocked me about that was I thought he was going to get the richest contract in the history of the NFL for a tackle because ultimately I believe he'll be the future left tackle for this team. What are your thoughts on the deal, when the deal got done, how it got done? Throw it out to me.
It's amazing that he gave up on football after high school.
That is an incredible story, isn't it?
He was going to be a welder.
A welder.
Great job, by the way.
No doubt.
Welders get paid good money.
But you're not getting 5 years at $96 million, right?
No. Welder makes good money, but not that kind of money there. But it's amazing that he took a year off after high school and then got back in it. I was in Philadelphia for the 2017 NFL Draft because LSU had 3 guys taken there. Marshawn Lattimore, and then we thought it was going to be, Reuben Foster?
Well, he was on the phone with Reuben Foster. And he hung the phone up on Sean Payton, remember?
Yes. Sometimes scouting is a science, and sometimes there's just luck involved. Got to be lucky, right? Because you know where Reuben Foster is right now? Not in the league.
No,
okay, he's out of the league, and Ryan Ramczyk is rich. Yes, I don't know if I'm surprised that he's not the highest paid. Maybe they're trying to save some money for Teron Armstead. He's had some injury concerns. I'm really intrigued to see what they're going to do with Teron Armstead.
Right, me too.
Yeah, because you got an Andres Pete, you got Eric McCoy, you got a Cesar Ruiz, all young. Still got James Hurst, who they can move around.
You drafted Landon Young out of Kentucky.
And I think Will Clapp is still on so you got
James Hurst.
Yeah. So you got some young guys that are that can move around there. I'm intrigued to see what they do at Armstead next offseason.
He'll be 30 in this month.
Right.
So when you look at left tackles or just linemen, he's going into his prime. Okay? I mean, when you look at it right now. No, look, injury concerns, no doubt about it. But he's a tough guy. Yeah. He plays through injury. You see it all the time.
And he's a locker room guy, too.
Right.
People don't realize how different that locker room is going to be this year.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Drew Brees was a great quarterback there, but he was even better in the locker room. He was kind of the glue guy. This locker room this year is going to be very interesting to see who's going to take this over with. Okay, is it going to be your Cam Jordans of the world? Is it going to be Teron Armstead? There's some guys that are going to need to step up, and Armstead's one of those guys.
Yes.
So
how do you let a leader like that go?
If he has a season where he doesn't have any injury concerns, then you got to re-sign him there. But he's had injury concerns in the past there. He's missed time. Yeah. That's a kicker with Ryan Ramczyk. He only missed one game, and that game was because they sat him out because they already made the playoffs. Okay, but for injury concerns, he's never missed the game. I think it was a great move. It's amazing. I know it's not the sexiest picks, but the Saints' offensive line, most of those guys were high draft picks there. And everybody wants to go for the the sizzle with a wide receiver, back in the day, but I think that they made the right move by
great teams build inside out. They do. You build your lines first, then you build out from there.
I mean, look who they drafted in the first round this year.
So I mean, again, unfortunately, the defensive line maybe hasn't had as much success with their players as maybe the offensive line. Offensive line's been steady. Every guy they pretty much plugged in has come in and played very, very well. Now, different quarterback this year. Okay, when you had Drew Brees there behind center, he could mask a lot of deficiencies because he got the ball out so quickly. Again, he was a guy that, again, understood where the ball needed to go, plus was making the line calls. So now you're going with a new quarterback, whoever that's going to be, whether it's be Hill or Winston. So it'll be interesting to see, again, how this line performs, if we're going to see that same great line going forward. I think we will, but I think it's going to be a little bit different. Also, again, holding the ball a little bit longer, maybe going a little bit deeper than what we've seen with Drew Brees. So that's another part of this. Can you hold your blocks a little bit longer than maybe you had to do? So there's a little bit of a transition here for that offensive line that is looked at as one of the best ever. But I want to throw this out to you. I've thrown it out to every guest that's come on.
All right.
Because it's kind of scary, and I talked a lot about it on the program yesterday. On one hand, I'm celebrating Ryan Ramshack being a Saint for the next 5 years, and I'm sure it's going to be a backloaded contract because it has to be. Next year, unrestricted, Lattimore, Armstead, Davenport, Winston, Taysom Hill, Marcus Williams, Patrick Robinson, P.J. Williams, Traquan Smith, Montgomery, Washington, Spence, and Armah, the new fullback. Restricted, which means, again, they have the right of first refusal. They can hold on to the player. Harris, Tuttle, Hanson, Jawan Johnson, Griffin, Greenwich. When you just look at the unrestricted players, again, that is going to be very, very difficult to hold on each and every one of them, much like we saw this year. You got some really big names, some core guys that are going to be unrestricted free agents next year. You've got dead money of $11.5 million for Brees and another $13.5 for Armstead if he moves on. So it'll be interesting to see again how they play this. And look, now you got a situation where you have Ramshack signed. Do you try to sign Marcus Williams now and then put the tag on Lattimore and wait one more year to see again how things kind of pan out off the field and see if again he could be a more consistent player? He wasn't in the top 50 of Pro Football Focus, and he considers himself a top 5 cornerback. Most people consider him a top 10 cornerback, but you heard him in his interview. He considers himself one of the best. Sure, he wants to get paid like that as well.
Yeah, and I would probably say in the Saints opener against the Green Bay Packers, Marshall Lattimore will not be there.
I agree with you.
So that means both starting cornerbacks from last year, Janoris Jenkins, Marshall Lattimore, will not be on the field for that first game against Green Bay Packers. I could see Lattimore getting suspended 1 or 2 games for his gun charge in Cleveland. I think that's the only thing that's holding up them from signing him to a monster deal. I still think he gets his money. I don't know when that contract's going to happen there. I think Marcus Williams is here to stay. You know why? Because I just don't think there's a lot of good safeties in the league. I know Marcus Williams gets crushed by a lot of fans there.
And rightly so.
Yeah, but there's just not a lot of good safeties out there. That's the reason they put him on the franchise tag. With the quarterback situation, I think that's going to play itself out there. Whoever wins the job this year, and if they do well, I think they'll be signed to a contract extension there. So that's one that'll be intriguing.
Which is why this year is, when you look at the cap, you say to yourself, well, man, look, they're not really paying a quarterback. Because they're not paying big quarterback money right now. But no matter what, next year they're probably paying big quarterback money.
Yeah, and you would think it would. I mean, everything's moving toward Jameis Winston getting that starting gig. We'll see in training camp there. Thank goodness, I think we're all going to be allowed back out there. I think they'll have some fans out there, so that'll be exciting there. But it's a wide open battle, as they say. But you would think for scheme-wise and to get more playmakers on the field, you want to Taysom Hill on the field. I think it would make more sense that Jameis is a starter. But stranger things have happened, but they love that arm.
I checked Sportrick yesterday. They had the Saints $16 million under the cap. I think that's wrong because I don't think they had Ryan Ramshack's contract as part of it. Just on my numbers, going back on what I've been keeping track of, around $11 million is what it looks like. They're under the cap right now. The question I have for you is, how quickly are they going to spend that money? And then how are they going to spend that money? Are they going to look and try to re-sign some of these veterans now, lessen the cap load for again down the line? They need help. They need starting cornerback, at least one, maybe 2. You look at the linebacker position. Man, you're going in with 2 guys that again have not played NFL football and at the position they're going to be starting at or playing at. So again, you got a hole there. Maybe you're holding out for Quan Alexander, maybe you're not. How do they spend this money? They spend it now to fill the holes that we perceive they have, but maybe the coaches and the general manager won't admit. Or again, are they using that money for next year to be able to hold on to the core guys I was talking about?
I think they're going to still in the market for a cornerback. They got to be, and it's
got to be, right?
And it's not a Debo who they just drafted out of Stanford. He's not ready yet. There, I got to believe that there's a cornerback out there that they're still trying to sign. But I think they're going to use some of that money to get the Lattimore, Marcus Williams signed. I mean, this is where they're going toward. You cannot let those guys be unrestricted. You can't let them go, especially Lattimore. I know he shows up against the Julio Jones of the world, but he doesn't show up against the lesser wide receivers there. But I think that's where they're moving to now, is get Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore signed. And I think they still need to bring in a cornerback. I think they're fine with the linebacker situation when they got one in the draft there. And then Demario Davis is one of the best linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. To your point, and I've said this a lot, when you have a top corner, we could debate what he is for 1 through 10, whatever. You don't let him go.
No.
I mean, you draft them, you hold on to them, you have to pay them because you don't know if you're going to get another one down the line. It's like a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback or a cornerback, you're constantly searching for one.
Yeah, Janoris Jenkins, the only reason they let him go was because they were just so far over the cap and they had to shed cap space.
$10 million is what he was going to do.
Yeah, Mickey Loomis even on a local radio show alluded to that, that if they weren't in such a salary cap bad situation, that they probably would have brought back
And Jenkins talked about this being the best place he's ever been in terms of culture.
Yeah.
So there was a mutual admiration society there. I'm surprised, of course, his age. Surprised they did not try to extend him and again, maybe lessen that cap blow instead of allowing him to go to Tennessee.
That's the one I think is going to hurt. I think that's the one that's going to hurt, especially with Marshawn Lattimore probably being suspended for the opener, maybe 2 games there. I think that was the one that was the toughest, I think, to say goodbye to him.
Question marks on this team. On the offensive side of the ball, if you had to pick a position, where would it be?
I mean, it's got to be quarterback. Right. I know the Jameis Winston hype train is like in overdrive right now. He threw 30 interceptions 2 years ago.
Sure.
I'm still not sold on Jameis Winston is like a franchise quarterback there right now. I'm not buying that right now. I saw Taysom Hill where they kind of put the training wheels on there. They didn't make him put him in a lot of tough situations. So I'm not on Taysom either. I think it's a quarterback position because I love the running back situation. Wide receiver. You're still on who the number 2 is there since they let Emmanuel Sanders go. Is it going to be a Jawan Johnson? Is it Marquez Callaway? Is it Deontay Harris? Is Traquan Smith finally going to step up there? I mean, all you got is Michael Thomas right now is a solid one. So that would be another concern. I think the line is fantastic, but I like the running back situation. I think Adam Troutman is going to have a monster year at tight end there. That's the reason why they shed other tight ends there. Right. So I would think that you need to find a number 2 receiver, a number 3 receiver there, but the quarterback, I mean, it stirs the drink.
Talk about the defensive side. I mean, again, if you look at it, I mean, we already talked about the cornerback opposite Lattimore as a whole right now. Okay, are you satisfied with the linebacker position, or are you still
just because you drafted one doesn't mean you're safe there.
I mean, I still think
I'm still worried also about opposite Cam Jordan.
Really?
Cam Jordan had a bad season. Is this going to be finally the year Marcus Davenport does something?
Well, I mean,
because you said he's going to be unrestricted next year. That's another one's going to sort itself out. If he has another down season, gets injured like he always has, then I guess Peyton Turner's just going to slaughter in and take his gig.
Carl Granderson.
Yeah,
really
he's another one that's kind of, they got him for cheap.
Right. And
I mean, because he had past concerns at Wyoming.
Exactly. So again, you look at it again, just the anatomy of Trey Hendrickson, and you kind of compare and contrast that to Granderson. They're kind of on the same track right now. Now we'll see how that plays out. Look, they want to give Davenport every opportunity to be successful here.
They traded up for him.
Right, okay.
First rounder in 2018 draft.
Right, you give up a couple first rounders for a guy. You want him to be able to pan out. We'll see what happens there. He saw Hendrickson get paid at the end of the day, and this is a big season for him, no doubt about it. Look, we haven't even talked about again, Thomas Morstead is gone.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know everybody again just kind of looks over he was a weapon for this team. Okay. Well, what's going to happen at with the punting situation? Because that's an unknown as well.
Yeah, Blake Gillikin.
Right. Looked great in practice. Looked great in preseason.
I remember training camp last year. Right. I remember Shaw Fazan, who's one of my coworkers there and covers the Saints for us there. He was telling me, Garland, he's booming it every day because there wasn't a lot of media that were allowed out, but Sean was one of those guys. So I never went out to a Saints training camp practice due to COVID. So they were all in on Blake Gillikin there. Obviously, you got a fantastic kicker, and Will Lutz back. So you got that guy. But no, Morstead, he just was making too much money.
Right. And the back injury hurt him.
Yeah, and his punt average started going down. I mean, no one signed him yet.
Right.
So
not yet.
And that's probably. It's probably the end of the road for him, because he has his veteran minimum is so high there. So I have no problem with Blake Gillikin. I think he's going to do well. I mean, Sean Payton has hit on a lot of these guys before in special teams.
Final question on the Saints before we go to the Pelicans. Mike Haas, new voice of the Saints. Your thoughts?
Legend. You know, he was up for the gig 3 years ago. I heard he was the favorite, and then, you know, some other power stepped in, and all of a sudden, Zach Strief was that guy there. No, Mike Hollis is a legend. I've always had good interaction with him. I worked with him at a former station here in New Orleans. I think it's a good move there, and he's with Deuce McAllister, who's a pros pro there, who works at Fox 8 with me. So, yeah, I think he's going to do well.
I think he is too, no doubt. Let's go to the Pelicans. First of all, Mark Spears reported this morning the Pelicans are still searching for their head coach. Well, we know that, okay? But they've done some face-to-face meetings, but not all face-to-face meetings. I understand that as well. It went from obviously a lot of talk about Jacques Vaughn. He's going to stay in Brooklyn. He's got 2 teenage boys. Wants to stay in Brooklyn and be able to be there. I don't get it.
He's also getting paid a ton of money.
He is, but look, your name was in the mix last year. You got back in the mix again this year. If you knew you weren't going anywhere, then again, you're not even flirting with it at this point. I mean, again, there were multiple jobs open, and it just looked to me like, again, he realized he wasn't getting one of ththose jobs, so maybe he backed out. Now, maybe it's right. Maybe again, it was all about his kids, and he's going to wait one more year. So now, again, Charles Lee is still one of the favorites, the assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks. Our colleague Fletcher Mackel, who's been all over this story, said last night that now the Pelicans are leaning maybe away from him because, again, he's not a top assistant. Look, I've said it from the beginning. Everybody was talking about Taretha Witherspoon, Fred Vinson. Man, you got to be a number one guy. You got to be the guy that's next to the guy, okay, in order to even have a chance to be able to be the head coach of this team. You cannot get this wrong. This cannot be an experimentation. Okay, because of where we are, well, it was Zion or whatever. Just again, the health of the franchise, okay, here in New Orleans. Not saying they're moving. I'm saying, again, the fan base, believing in David Griffin, etc. The other guy now is Willie Green. Played here in 2010, 1 year with the Hornets. Has been Monty Williams' top assistant for the last 2 years. Was at Golden State for 17 and 18 for their 2 championships as an assistant. That's where he cut his teeth. He's said to be on the short list. And then there are supposed to be some other guys out there that have not been named yet. But everything seems to be pointing toward Willie Green now as maybe the possibility of a head coach for the Pelicans. Wow, that's a lot to get out. What do you think, Garland?
First off, I don't think the Pelicans fans have any belief in David Griffin anymore.
I agree with that.
I think his stock is at an all-time low. It is a definite sell right now. He was a GM in Cleveland when LeBron won it all. Right. You or I could be the GM in Cleveland and win a title with LeBron. He's been nothing but disappointing in his time in New Orleans there. I know he can go on these Zoom press conferences for 30 minutes and wow everybody with his inspirational quotes and talks there. I'm not buying into it. I think he's done.
I don't think anybody is anymore.
No, those things are tiresome to sit through. God bless the media having to sit through those Zooms with David Griffin there because they're brutal. I can't handle a whole 25-minute one there. But I will say this: he needs to get this right.
Right.
This is his last shot. If this team, whoever he picks, David Griffin, and whoever the blessing of the ownership gives, he has 1 year left, Griffin.
Right.
If this don't work this next year, it's it for him. And guess who else is out the door? Zion Williamson, okay? You got 1 more year for both of these, okay? They need to make a splash hire. They need somebody that can stabilize the fan base because I guarantee, I don't know anybody on the ticket staff for the Pelicans, but I guarantee they're not selling a lot of season tickets right now. They're going to have some major trouble selling season tickets there because at least they can sell the fact that Zion's going to be here for 1 more year, and that's about it there. Eric, the only way they're going to get back these fans, they need to make a trade.
Right.
I know. I don't know what Damian Lillard's thinking or some other guys.
But why would Damian Lillard come here? I mean, honestly. I hear that talk. I've been hearing that talk for the last week.
I'm just throwing out a name.
No, I know that, but
they need to dump all. They got too many draft picks. Who cares about? We got a pick swap in 2023. We got a pick swap in 2020.
Well, looking at Griffin's deal right now, he may be more apt to be able to move some of those picks, knowing he's on a hot seat like he is.
He should trade all those pick swaps, all in. Take all those chips there. Push them all. This is it. This is Griffin's last shot.
How do you, when you have Zion's family coming out and pretty much saying, we're not going to be in New Orleans long. They talk about the dysfunction within the organization. So again, look, Griffin was brought in to stabilize the dysfunction in the organization. And now we're hearing again there's still dysfunction, maybe more. Zion's family saying that this is not a place that lives up to the standard of a star like Zion. How can you go out and politic or recruit a veteran of any stature to come in and play with Zion in New Orleans? First of all, to play with Zion. Look, I got a lot of flack on my radio show last week for saying Zion is a one-dimensional player. And unless he goes into the gym and we see significant progress on a mid-range shot, on a jump shot, maybe even a three-point shot, his ability to be able to, again, play defense. Right now, he's a guy that is unstoppable around the basket. Eventually, NBA teams are going to figure that out, how to be able to slow him down or be able to stop him. But at the same time, how do you get guys to want to come to New Orleans and be able to play with him? And again, play for a guy that's got all this hype but hasn't really done a lot. He wasn't even on the All-NBA first, second, or third teams this year. That tells you something. Again, wasn't invited on the Olympic team. That amazed me. The stardom, the name, Zion, everything, I thought it would be a shoo-in on the Olympic team. He's not on the Olympic team. Why? One-dimensional player. He can score around the basket. Maybe be spectacular with a dunk, but he's not. I mean, again, other guys made it. I mean, Jeremy Grant made the team before he did. I mean, think about that for a second. And I'm not knocking Zion. I'm just saying he's got a long way to go to be the star that everybody thinks he's going to be. And hopefully he will be. The question going forward is, how are you able to get free agents to come to New Orleans? How can you get a guy that you trade for not to be disgruntled? And then who's going to be the coach? And are you going to experiment with a guy that's going to have his first time on the bench? Or is it going to be a guy that's got some skins on the wall here? I mean, it's a whirlwind right now based in terms of where this franchise is. You know, I mean, I like Willie Green. He was a great leader when he came in for that 1 year, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Willie Green.
I mean, he really was. I mean, everywhere he's been a great leader. Is he ready to be the number one? He's ready to be a head coach in the NBA? I don't know.
Well, you also got to realize they're still paying Stan Van Gundy off.
Right. And they just got finished paying off, if I'm not mistaken, Alvin Gentry, right.
So if you're already still paying Stan Van Gundy,
so you're telling me they might lowball it a little bit because they're not going to spend.
The Rick Carlisles in the world, the Jason Kidds of the world never even had a shot at coming to New Orleans. Well, I mean, Mike D'Antoni, they can maybe kind of lowball.
Well, they interviewed him, supposedly.
Right. Yeah.
But who's hiring D'Antoni right now? Nobody.
Right. They're going to have to find someone that no one else wants right now because they can't give him this monster contract. And maybe that's why Jacques Vaughn is making so much with the Nets. And they were like, maybe it was just a little bump.
Right.
And, to be second command is pretty easy in the NBA there. You know, the Heat
especially with that team.
With the Brooklyn Nets?
Come on.
I mean, if all those guys come back next year and they're healthy there, they're going to be making a run for a title there. Is there going to be any title in New Orleans anytime soon? If you look at history, it says no. What have they won? 2 playoff series since they moved to New Orleans? 2?
Right. Well, I mean, there are 2 schools of thought here. You can try to be able to make trades and free agent moves and try to surround Zion quickly, or you can build through the draft like we saw what Atlanta's done, what Milwaukee has done, what Phoenix has done. And you see, again, the difference of adding just one veteran after you got those young players in place and you've seen those players develop. The thought was to develop the team organically. I don't know if you have the time now, okay? You know, the one thing about the interview with David Griffin, where, again, he needed a priest, okay? He needed to go to confession afterwards because if he doesn't think that there's that invisible clock, again, he's not in the reality right now. There is a clock on Zion, on him, on the organization to get it right. And because especially, again, 2 coaches in 2 years. I will say something else. If they're going to go with a coach that again, has no experience, a Charles Lee, a Willie Green, you better have a former head coach as your top assistant. You better have a former guy that, again, has been in the NBA, has been a head coach somewhere else to be the top assistant there, okay? Because you're going to need that down the line here. The interesting thing is how this has evolved. Now it looks like players want ex-players who have got skill, who have played the game, that again have either been assistants or been head coaches, that can relate to the young players, that can relate to the players today to be their head coaches. That's great, okay? But again, how many of those guys are out there right now? Portland's taking a chance on Chauncey Billups, never been a head coach before. You can break it down. Will New Orleans take a chance on either Willie Green or Charles Lee? Again, at a time when you probably don't have the opportunity or the time to be able to make a mistake second time around.
It's amazing how much stability is with the New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis running the show this whole time. I mean, Saints fans, I'm sure know it, But just look at the dumpster fire that is the Pelicans / Hornets over the years, and look at the Saints. It's been all about stability with Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. You go on the other side, we're talking Dell Demps, we're talking David Griffin, we got Gentry. I still think to this day they made a mistake. I mean, obviously hindsight's 20/20, but it was what? It was either Monty Williams or Dell Demps was hitting the door, and they went with Dell Demps.
Right, exactly. There was a power struggle, went with Dell Demps.
Every single mistake, it seems to go on the Pelican side of Airline Drive, and they're not with the Saints there. It's amazing how, well, I will say this, when you got Drew Brees,
that's the other thing.
Makes everything so much easier on this side. Because across the parking lot, because that's how it is. The Saints are right here, they got parking lot, and they got the Pelicans on Airline Drive. It's amazing how many things they got right here, and I've gotten wrong on this side of the parking lot there. But it helps when you got Drew, and you got Sean, and you got Mickey, and you got stability. Now that might change without Drew out of the building, but it's amazing how many things they've gotten wrong on the other side of the parking lot.
It's true. And the other part is, like you mentioned, you have had generational players. You had Chris Paul, who forced his way out before the Bensons bought the team. He didn't know who was going to buy the team. I don't have any ill will toward Chris Paul, never will.
No, the George Shen, Ray Wooldridge situation.
God, it was a disaster.
At least they brought the team to New Orleans.
Right, exactly.
That was the one thing they did right.
Right, exactly.
They did that right, but since then, Chris Paul wanted out because the ownership was a total disaster there. And I will say this, the coaching situation, one of the greatest when AD forced his way out there too. So, and like I just said, if the Pelicans miss the playoffs this year, then Zion Williamson's going to be out.
He's going to be one to push his way out.
It's all about winning. These windows are not, I know Chris Paul took it until his 16th year to get in the NBA Finals, but sometimes that window is really tight. So Zion's not going to mess around in New Orleans.
I don't think so, and I think that's the key. Again, it's a win-now situation, and I don't know if you continue to be able to grow this team organically. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. Love having you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, indeed.
Again, Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, plenty of ways to be able to catch our show now. Of course, you can catch us on the WLAE-TV YouTube page as we are broadcasting live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Our first rebroadcast is 6 p.m. on WLAE-TV. We have a rebroadcast at 10 p.m. on The Deuce, and that is WLAE-TV 2. That's all on Thursday. On Friday, 9 o'clock Pelican Sports Television, 10 o'clock on WLE, Saturday morning on The Deuce, and then on Saturday afternoon at 5 p.m. on Pelican Sports Television. Always at ericasher.com, always on the WLAE-TV YouTube page, always on our social media platforms, at Eric_Asher on Twitter, Eric Asher on Facebook. Catch me on the radio for weekdays 4 to 6 on 106.1 FM. You can listen live at ericasher.com. The Anchor app is our home base for our podcast. We're on all the podcasting platforms. You can check out the show at your leisure. I want to thank Garland Gillen for joining us on the program, our fantastic underwriters who support this program. Please continue to support the underwriters that support our show. And, of course, the great staff here at WLAE-TV. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, also Will Ingram, Alex Chacon, and my director, William Hill. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Until then, have a happy 4th of July weekend. For Garland Gillen, I'm Eric Asher. We'll see you next week.